Welcome to this explainer, Focus Learners. Today, we're diving straight into something absolutely fundamental. It's a concept that'll completely change how you view your income and, honestly, your entire future. Look, a lot of us think building wealth is about, magic, luck, or some crazy insider secret. But actually, the truth is so much simpler. Building wealth is really just about creating a repeatable, almost boring set of rules that decides exactly where your money goes before you even see it. Okay, let's dive into this. I want you to picture two people. They earn the exact same salary down to the penny. But over time, one of them retires a millionaire, right? And the other? Well, they're still living paycheck to paycheck at 65. Same income, totally different outcomes. It's kind of uncomfortable to think about, but it was never really about how much they earned. It was all about the system they used for every single dollar after it hit their bank account.
So let's start with part one, the paycheck to paycheck trap, and why earning more money doesn't always help. We've got to acknowledge a really frustrating reality here. You know the feeling, payday hits, and for about a week you feel rich. But that illusion fades fast, doesn't it? The bills hit, subscriptions renew, and suddenly you're anxiously checking your bank balance before buying a coffee at the end of the month. So why does this happen? Well, the core culprit here is lifestyle creep. This is basically the phenomenon where your spending rises in lockstep with your income. Simply earning more money, it doesn't actually fix the paycheck to paycheck trap at all. It just raises the ceiling of that trap. The feeling of being broke becomes permanent just because your spending expands to swallow up your rates. Here's the blueprint we're covering today. 1. The paycheck to paycheck trap. 2. 25% for fueling your growth. 3. 15% for building your stability. 4. 50% for capping your essentials. 5. 10% for guilt-free spending. And finally, 6. The power of ownership.
And this brilliantly illustrates our entire system mapped out, the 25-15-50-10 rule. Instead of budgeting by nervously looking at what's left over at the end of the month, every single dollar is assigned a job the very moment it arrives. And you know what the true beauty of this is? It works whether you make $2,000 a month or $20,000. Moving right along to part 2, 25% fueling your growth or paying your future self first.
Listen, this right here is the precise mechanism that separates everyday employees from future owners. 25% of your income must absolutely immediately go toward assets that increase in value. We're talking stocks, index funds, retirement accounts, real estate, things that literally work for you while you sleep. But hey, there's a secondary, hugely important use for this bucket, and that's crushing high-interest debt. Think about it. If you're carrying a credit card balance at a 20% interest rate, paying that down is effectively a guaranteed 20% return on your money. So crush that high-interest debt first and then redirect that exact same 25% into your long-term investments. But here's the catch. Intention alone just isn't enough. The mechanism matters just as much as your goal. You have to automate the transfer before you even see the money. Seriously, if this growth money just sits in your checking account waiting around for you to manually invest it, well, human nature kicks in, and your spending will always expand to meet the gap. Treat your future net worth like a non-negotiable bill. Automate this transfer the exact second your paycheck lands. Okay, part 3, 15%, building your stability. This is your buffer against the unexpected. Because true wealth, it isn't just about growing your money. It's about protecting it from sudden, unpreventable life emergencies. You need to dedicate 15% to building a liquid 3 to 6 month emergency fund. Keep this in a high-yield savings account or a money market fund, so it earns a little bit of interest, but more importantly, remains easily accessible. Now, a critical rule here, and I mean absolutely crucial, avoid volatile assets like crypto for this bucket. Without a liquid buffer, a sudden transmission failure on your car or an emergency root canal can instantly derail your finances, and that forces you to sell your actual investments at the absolute worst possible time. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is where the math gets super fun. What happens when that stability buffer is finally full? Well, that 15% doesn't just disappear. It graduates. Once your emergency fund is fully built, you redirect this 15% straight into your growth bucket. This means your long-term investing jumps from 25% to a massive 40% of your income. That right there is the exact moment the whole system starts compounding in your favor at an incredible speed. Next up, part 4. 50%, capping your essentials. These are the non-negotiables of living. All right, now we come to the largest single bucket of the entire system. And while it's the largest, 50% is also the exact danger zone where high earners quietly self-sabotage. It is just so ridiculously easy to let your lifestyle inflate.
A bigger house, a nicer leased car, eating out all the time just because, well, you can. But remember, looking rich and being rich are frequently total opposites. Wealth is what you don't see. The problem arises when these essential lifestyle costs creep past that 50% mark, because when they do, they slowly swallow your raises and eat directly into the funds that are meant for your growth and stability. So how exactly do we keep this strictly capped at 50%? I've got 3 concrete, actionable tactics for you. Number 1, audit your recurring expenses to plug those silent leaks. You know, the forgotten subscriptions you never use. 2, target housing and transportation directly. Honestly, negotiating your rent or avoiding a crazy expensive car loan on a depreciating asset will free up far more money than cutting out your morning coffee ever will. And 3, ask yourself the live versus look good filter question before any big purchase. Just ask, is this helping me live or is it just helping me look like I'm doing well?
Which brings us to part 5, 10% guilt-free spending. My favorite, joy without the spreadsheet. I know, this is probably the most surprising bucket to find in a wealth-building framework, but trust me, it is absolutely necessary. Why dedicate 10% just for fun? Because deprivation-based budgets, they always fail. Always. If a system has zero joy built into it, you're eventually going to abandon it. If every single dollar is strictly assigned to debt or bills, sure, you might white-knuckle it for a few months, but eventually you'll blow the whole plan on a massive spending binge. By allocating 10% purely for enjoyment, like a trip, a nice dinner, a hobby, you completely prevent that binge. It's spent guilt-free because, hey, it's already accounted for. And to really master this 10% bucket, you've got to utilize the 7-day rule. When you're tempted, ask yourself, is it just an impulse? If you want to buy something non-essential, just wait a full week. Put it out of your mind. If you still want it after 7 days and it fits comfortably inside your guilt-free 10%, buy it without hesitation. This is a brilliant tactic. It quietly kills a huge percentage of impulse buys before they even happen, all while perfectly preserving your freedom to spend on the things you actually genuinely care about. Finally, part 6, the power of ownership in shifting your financial reality. So the crucial point here is that the percentages we've just covered, they're really only half the story. The true value is what executing this entire system actually achieves over a lifetime. It's the stark contrast between renting your time and owning your future. Real wealth doesn't come from just renting your time out and working for a paycheck. Whether you're an entrepreneur, an investor, or a specialist, real wealth comes from owning things. The 25-15-50-10 framework isn't just some budgeting exercise and saving discipline. It's a systematic shift from being someone who works for money to someone whose money works for them.
You see, compound growth is kind of quiet in the beginning, but given enough time, it becomes the single largest force in anyone's financial life. It's wild. The amount of time your money has to compound matters way more than the amount you actually start with. Like the quote says, the best time to start was years ago, and the second best time is today. So my question to you is this. Are you going to let another payday just slip through the cracks to fund someone else's business? Or will you open your bank account right now and set up that very first automated transfer to fund your own future?